wonder what's hot in the baking world right now?
It's not even that complicated. You get store-bought croissants, cut them open, shove in some store-bought cookie dough, and that's it.
Hi everyone, I'm Gemma Stafford, professional chef, cookbook author, and creator of Bigger Bolder Baking. Welcome to Need to Know, your go-to podcast for everything baking entertainment. From the latest trends,
this is the viral scrambled pancake trend.
What? To the tips and tricks you crave.
We discovered that if you take apple peels, toss them in a little cinnamon and sugar, and bake them for about an hour in the oven, you get a really lovely treat.
Plus exclusive interviews with baking pros.
Hey, it's Liz from the Sugar Geek Show. Thanks for having me, Gemma.
We've even got the Bold Baking Hotline to answer all of your baking queries and questions.
Is a Dutch oven really necessary for baking bread, and what difference does it make?
Yes, I think we probably would agree on that, do we, Oni?
Yeah, good. So join us every Sunday for your new weekly baking ritual. It's everything you need to know.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
The southern highlands of Jalisco have become known for delicious tequila. But back in 1937, before anyone was paying attention to the delicious agaves growing in this community, Indalecio Núñez Muro planted his flag here and began making tequila. His descendants are still making it here today under their family-owned brand, Tequila El Viejito, under the watchful eye and exceptional palate of Maestra Tequilera Karina Rojo. Tequila El Viejito both preserves the traditions of tequila making in Jalisco's southern highlands and also preserves the environment. In addition to earning state certification as a green enterprise, Tequila El Viejito has initiated a program in which they're beginning to germinate their agave from seed, an endeavor meant to preserve genetic diversity of the key ingredient to tequila. So grab a bottle of the original tequila from Jalisco's southern highlands. Grab a bottle of Tequila El Viejito today.
Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip.
I'm Lou Bang.
And I'm Linda Sullivan.
And this is Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps growing ex-bartenders better understand agave
spirits and
rural Mexico. Okay, so Linda.
Hello.
Gone are the days when jars of pickled eggs and pig's feet lined the back of a bar. But a bit of food in your stomach can sure help when you're out drinking.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, what should the new bar snacks be? I think a lot, Linda, about these bars. You know, I know they've got them all over Chicago here, where there's no food.
Yes.
Yeah. And the little snacks, I think, help me drink longer. And so I want more snacks in these bars. And I've got theories about what those snacks should be. And I think we're going to do a few episodes, not in a row. Don't worry, we're not going to bore you guys. If this is not your jam, you know, move along to the next episode. And then we'll bore you again in a few weeks with another idea. But here's my premise, and I guess anybody listening to this has already read the title of the episode, so they know my premise. My premise is canned fish should be one of those things.
Wow. That is not a very popular snack.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, and I get why that would be too, right? But so here, I can remember when I lived in London back in 1992, and I'd go in the bars there. I don't need to hear, I was born in 1993, Lou. So when I would go and visit the bars there with my friends, inevitably there would be this big tub of jellied eel, which looked disgusting to me.
Get out, really?
Yeah, jellied eel, very popular. I think it was in the eastern parts of London.
Oh, wow.
But very, very popular. It was hard to find a little pub tavern, I can't remember what they call them there, that didn't have it. And, you know, they'd always have fun in sort of the same way that I enjoy bringing people to Italian beef joints in Chicago, which I think is actually a lot nicer than convincing somebody to eat jellied eel. They would, hey, Lou, have some jellied eel with that cider, because I wouldn't drink beer. I didn't understand the point to beer back then.
Well, cider's a good alternative.
No, it was pretty crappy too, but it was better than beer. Anyway, and I would eat the jellied eel. When I ate the jellied eel, I actually liked it.
You did?
Oh, yeah. The jellied eel, I thought tasted great, but the idea of the jellied eel
Was like too gross.
Right. And this is what my friends knew. They were just like, oh, if he can get over the look of it, it'll be fine.
Do you feel like that was the prevailing opinion that a lot of folks, your friends, people you hung out with, other people in the bar, did they enjoy the jelly deal too?
You know, you and I recently recorded an episode where we talked about whether the tequila in your margarita matters. I can't remember. Do you remember when we did that?
Yeah, vaguely.
Vaguely. Okay. So do you remember my theory that that maybe people said they tasted the difference because I told them? I think maybe, like, it could be that my friends all really did like it. It could also be all of my friends were messing with me because I tend to mess with my friends, and in England they really tend to mess with you. That's the love language, is messing with you.
Ah, so
and
there
my
was a lot
friends
of
love
messing.
me, and a lot of love.
And a lot of love.
So it could be either one. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll reach out to some of my British friends and ask them.
So your parallel, you're thinking, is that even though it might sound weird or gross to have canned fish as a snack, people will really like it?
Well, yes. I mean, that's not the entire premise. That is just literally the tip of the premise iceberg.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know, I, as you are familiar with, I am relatively vegan. I'm sort of a wavotarian, right? Like I'll eat eggs, but no other dairy and no other meat. But every once in a while, I would cheat for salmon or tuna, some kind of fish, because my cardiologist, Steve, had said that, hey, the omega-3 fatty acids are good for you, Lou. Go ahead and do that. So
Shout out to Steve.
Shout out to Steve. And so I do that. And then I went to Maine a few months ago to do a tasting with the Maine Beer Company, my beloved friends at the Maine Beer Company. And my friend Carrie Seaver, who is in charge of marketing at the Maine Beer Company, shout out to my friend Carrie. This is a hug. I owed you a hug. This is the hug, Carrie. She, the first night I was there, brought me to her home. She said, oh, my husband is a good cook, so he'll make dinner for you. And I was like, hey, sure, have dinner. Just, you know, tell him I've got this weird diet, but I'll eat fish. And so, oh, well, he's been known to cook fish, right? Said that. And so I show up to the house, and I've never seen a backyard cooking setup like this.
Oh, it was nice.
Yeah, so her husband is Barton Seaver.
Am I supposed to know who that is?
Well, you should.
Is he famous?
Let me run. I asked him how he wanted to be introduced, and there's no way that I could actually, no way I could do justice to what he said. So, Roy, could you just run Barton's self-introduction?
Hey, my name is Barton Seaver. I'm a husband, father, chef, author. I live on the ragged, jagged, delicious coast of Maine, and I do many things, include teach in public health. I spend a lot of time ferrying children back and forth from various activities, and I also write books. And I've got a new one coming out that I'm co-authoring with Andrew Zimmern called Hope in the Water, and it's coming out sometime, I think, late in 2025.
Cool.
Yeah, what he didn't say is that for the longest time he worked for Chef Jose Andres, and then he opened his own fish restaurants in D.C., and then ended up closing them, not because they weren't successful. They were quite successful, got Michelin stars, that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Cool.
But he left them because he wanted to instead focus on making people more aware of sustainability in seafood.
Oh, wow.
What fish to eat, what not to eat. Right?
Cool.
So
wow, and this is the husband of your friend that you just happened upon, like,
right?
in his backyard.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, my husband cooks from time to time.
Yeah, right? Exactly that.
That's great.
You know me, I love an under promise, over deliver.
Yep.
That's exactly what this was. Barton and I are now like we're brothers. We're in.
Oh, how
right?
nice.
Yeah. So Barton and I were having this conversation, and I had already kind of started, if you'll forgive the visual, dipping my toe into tinned fish.
Blech. I will not forgive the visual.
Yeah, okay.
Blech.
Fair. I had already started eating a little bit of tin fish, buying a lot of tin fish, but not yet eating it because, you know, I'm a chocolate geek.
Mm-hmm.
And the best place to buy chocolate in the USA, hands down, is Caputo's Market in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
Right? They're big mail order. I buy a ton from them. And when you go to their website, you see, they sell more than just chocolate. And I saw this huge selection of tinned fish, which made me think, am I missing something here? I feel honestly, Linda, I feel like I am. When I tell people I started drinking Mezcal in 2005, they're like, 2005? It didn't even exist until 2013, right? And I have a feeling the same thing is going to be happening with tinned fish, canned fish.
Yeah.
Barton calls it canned fish. I call it tinned fish. I think it might be like pop or soda.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any qualms of either of those phrases. Yeah. But my initial thought when you put canned fish on the dashboard of this car studio, was
mobile studio,
yeah. Right? Was my friends who eat and love tinned fish, and this is just
they all
anecdotal.
Smell funny?
No, they're wonderful. They smell fine. They are more like world travelers. They eat around the world. And I wonder if, tinned fish like you're describing, the jellied eels in London was a popular thing years ago. Well, tinned fish in a lot of European countries is sort of normal, but here it's not as normal.
Yeah.
So, I wonder if that bolsters your prediction about tinned fish coming to us in the US of A.
I think so. I think pretty soon you and I will be like, and by pretty soon I mean about 10 years from now, we'll have a podcast just about tinned fish, about fish, tinned fish, and rural seaways. But so,
nice.
Thank you. But
I think you'll have to have another guest for that.
Well, you're saying that now, but I'll bet you would have said that if I'd in 2005.
Maybe.
If I'd said, "Hey, how old would you have been in 2005?"
107. I'm immortal.
Immortal. In 2005, I'd said, "Hey, let's do a podcast about agave spirits from rural Mexico." I bet you would have said, I don't say that in the cards, Lou.
That was my voice.
That's your voice in my head.
Boy.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that's tricky about tinned fish is I think there are some perceptual hurdles that you have to get over because
it's the smoke. It's the smoky,
stinky.
not
yeah. It's like fishy, and I think people don't want to be the person that like opens that up in a bar as a bar snack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't think this is a bar snack for just any bar. But I think frankly it could start at dive bars and then work its way up.
Well, what I do love about it is that it's a much better snack than like a chip or a pretzel. Like what you would think of as like old school bar snacks, like the little nut mixes, the long pretzel rods. This actually is like hearty and has good protein and nutrients to it.
It's healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the good stuff. And okay, so I want to get into this with some quotes from Barton because we spent a lot of time talking, not just with his introduction. So I want to get into some quotes from Barton that you and I can talk around. So first, like why canned seafood? So Roy, can you run Barton's quote?
Did you know that canned, tinned seafood pairs perfectly well with agave-based spirits? So the slight spice that you get on the back palate and that floral aromatics come up, that to me is like mezcals, tequilas, agave-based spirits to me are, I think, one of the better spirit pairings for seafood in general, just in the way they lift each other. They bring out that bromide-rich, salt-fragrant glory that is seafood. They bring that to the fore.
Wow. Yeah. That sounds delicious. He made me want to have it.
Yeah. Do you want to start snacking now?
Oh boy. Yes.
Okay. So let's do that. Why don't you start opening one of those? Pick one. We've got two on the dashboard to choose from.
Okay.
I don't have any agave spirits for you to drink while you're. Just for the record, what we're eating now is from a brand called Sardinia. That's Sardinha. and it is a sardine in spicy olive oil with pickles. You are so worried about getting that on in the studio.
I'm so worried.
Yeah, go ahead. Open the door. It's okay. Roy, it's okay. You don't have to cover up the sound. It's okay, Roy.
Oh, Lord almighty.
You are just spilling stuff left and right. The dogs love this smell. Okay, Linda, break into that and let me know what you think. Does this fish remind you? I should have brought you some. Oh, there's some napkins in here.
Okay.
Does this remind you of agave spirits in rural Mexico?
It's really delicious.
Right?
I agree conceptually with what Chef said that this would be a nice compliment, and now I think it is supported by my actual taste buds. The saltiness, there's a little bit of spiciness.
I like eating it with my bare hands.
You are so classy.
God, that's a good one.
It's great. What is this, a little pepper?
And the other thing that he points out, and I won't run the full quote on this because he went on and on about it, but the other thing that he points out is, like, it's nice to have crackers to put it on, but he says don't get fancy crackers. Have a gluten-free option for Lou, he said, but
just do like saltines.
He very specifically said saltines and then some saltine variant for gluten-free people for Lou. But he also said, and this shocked me, he said first of all, in Maine, like, things, too much moisture, the saltines can go bad, so don't buy, like, big packages.
Get the little individuals that they serve you with soup.
Right, and buy them frequently if you're in one of those moist places. But he also said, toast it.
The saltine?
Put the saltine in, like, a little toaster oven and toast it just a little bit right before you go. And he says, it's amazing what it does to a saltine.
Wow.
I know.
I think that's cool. And you see some of that in like other chefs that clearly agree with him, that they'll do like a I don't know, fancy, but well done pimento dip or a beer cheese or something. And instead of serving it with these, from scratch, whatever, crackers with this and that seed, they serve it just air quotes, with a saltine.
Yeah.
Because almost the foil of it enhances the dish, the fish in this case.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so there's the flavor now, like, oh, this tastes good. I'd like to eat this while I am drinking agave spirits, right? But then the other piece is, and this was never, like, I reached out to him specifically to have this conversation, and I never imagined this coming up, but he said, in much the same way that you've got these stories to tell about agave spirits, the history of agave spirits, and the people who make agave spirits, it's the same thing with the fish. So, Roy, let's get that next quote going.
In my book, American Seafood, which is like my love letter to the history of the American seafood industry, in the research for that, I was just astounded at the importance of canned seafood. There's one quote that I used in there that said, cans of seafood did as much to win their war as their larger metal cousins, meaning submarines. And like, it was the food that fed the soldiers. It was, a food that developed economies along the rural coastal communities all across America. In Maine alone, there were something like 88 different canneries on our coastline. It was just this massively important part of the economy, massively important part of the cuisine even. Not to the realm where it reached, James Beard books and, hot cuisine, but the fact that it was part of the American experience. What I want is people to engage in this for whatever reason they come to it. Whether it's a heritage seafood, which literally I think this is, as much as we have heirloom tomatoes, a can of sardines is an heirloom food in America.
Wow, that's cool.
Right?
I didn't know that about the history of tin fish at all.
Right?
Neat.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then to the point of those stories of the individual producers, one of the brands that he goes on and on about is Fishwife, this other one that you didn't open up.
Oh, okay. Should I open that one too or no?
It's up to you. If you want to taste another one, open it. So he goes on and on about how you've got all of these very small producers, as well as really large ones, right? Like, you've got your Bumblebee, not real interesting. But then he also talks about the sustainability involved in this. So let's run that sustainability quote, Roy.
And when you're talking about, as we were, about the sustainability of the species within, you said, that I'd sort of turned you off maybe even to the canned tuna, canned salmon. I would urge you to reconsider that. There's a lot of really great quality, really great sustainable stories in the canned tuna, and especially within canned salmon. Right? Like, that's a very important part of the ecosystem, of the community, and the economy of sustainable fisheries in Alaska in particular. So canned salmon, all for it. But bottom line is, most of the fish that are canned are of species that we really should be participating more fully with. Meaning mackerels, herrings, sardines, anchovies, clams, mussels, oysters, trout. These are species that just should be on our plates, just inherently, by their biological, physiological, sustainable potential. When we eat a big giant tuna, like a big giant one, or a marlin or a shark, I consider that like the edge of the diving board. So think of the marine food system as a diving board, right? So you've got tunas, marlins, sharks, all the way out at the very end. You've got phytoplankton as the base of your diving board. Contemporary energy of the sun hits nutrients in the water and blooms plants and microscopic fauna. The next step up from that is clams, mussels, oysters, herrings, sardines, mackerel, anchovies, the filter feeders, the things that sieve from the water, those delicate little creatures and plants. So, and then you get further up the diving board, the bigger the species get, right? What happens if you jump at the base of a diving board? Nothing. The system absorbs your shock. Right? What happens if you jump at the head of a diving board? Boing, 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 boing. You leverage the system for your biggest impact possible. So when we're talking about how do we engage in an ecosystem in a sustainable way, we need to be thinking about engaging in ways where the system itself can absorb our shock. Now, phytoplankton, it's delicious. I have some right over here. It's not going to be our major foodstuff, but clams, mussels, oysters, filter feeders like that, scallops, kelp, anchovies, sardines, menhaden, mackerel. Ooh, man, those are the best options for sustainability. Why? Because all things in nature do two things, amongst others. They are designed to eat and be eaten, right? The species that are more eaten than the others, their whole survival mechanism is fecundity. Right? A herring might have 150,000 babies twice a year. Why? Well, because the vast majority of those get eaten. Whereas a shark out on the edge of the diving board, it might have 2 pups, maybe every couple of years. Huh. Wow. It's like, if you think about it, some of these species are just, they've evolved to be eaten. And this is not to say that their place is in our belly. No, their place is in nature as part of an ecosystem. But as we consider our sustainable place in these ecosystems, we need to participate in ways that these systems can afford.
Wow.
Right?
I want to read his book.
Books. Yeah. They're great books.
Yeah.
Great books.
I mean, I felt like I was in class right there listening to that quote. He's very, very good, very strong explainer.
Yeah.
A lot of clarity.
Yeah. And, so when you think about if this is something a Gringex bartender wants to do in their bar and serve as a little snack food, right? You've got all of these really interesting, and he's going to send us a list that we can put on the episode page of suggested brands. But you've got all of the, and he said, look, find something close to you as well. But you've got all of these really interesting brands. And when you think about shipping, like, this stuff can sit forever in the can. I think, check that box of Fishwife, right? Like, I just bought this, and check on the side for an expiration.
The last day of 2028.
2028, right? So it can sit forever on a slow boat.
Yeah,
so
it's very practical in that way.
Yeah. And so, if you're thinking about, well, how do I stock in my bar? I mean, you're not going to go through 1 billion of these in a week. Mm-hmm. So you can sit on it, and it's not going to go bad in the way that, that a tomato will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which makes it a very practical snack for a place that has no kitchen. Those are the types of places we're talking about. Like, they don't offer food already.
So Linda, at the start of this episode, you seemed very reluctant to accept my idea that canned fish is a snack that should be served at a bar.
Yes. When you texted it to me yesterday, I considered canceling our recording session.
Right. So now, after all this conversation, after sitting next to an open can of tinned fish for how long? I don't know, 10 minutes? In an enclosed car on a warm, hot summer day in Chicago, how do you feel now?
I like it. I just willingly took some more bites.
There you go.
I'm convinced.
Okay, so if you're convinced you want to know more about this, again, look in the episode notes. We'll have some suggested brands. But really, I'd say run to Caputo's website, see what they're offering. Head down to your local, nice grocery store. If you really want to get a better sense of sustainable, not sustainable, I'd say, go read Barton's books. Reach out to Barton directly via his website. He might be annoyed by that, but I won't be. And check that out. And then, Linda, you and I are going to do some more snacking in a few weeks when I try you out on chocolate and some of my other snack ideas for bars.
I love it. Our future is opening up a snack situation with mezcal sipping.
Or sitting recording in the mobile studio.
All right, fair.
Yeah, okay. Anything you want to add before I clock us out?
Nope, let's go eat fish.
Hasta pronto.
See ya.
You've been listening to Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. We're blessed with sound engineering by Roy Sierra and a theme song performed by Gabriel Oliveira and Marco Ricos. Sign up to become a road tripper and listen to more episodes at agaveroadtrip.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. And if you hated it, well, I'm sure you'll let us know that too. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip is a production of 10 Angry Pit Bulls, Inc. Agave Road Trip is powered by Simplecast. Thank you for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is our freshest content. Subscribe to our newsletter. To subscribe to our newsletter, enter your bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with Heritage Radio Network on Instagram and Twitter at @heritage_. Find Heritage Radio Network at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization using the power of educational storytelling about food to build a more equitable, resilient food system. Heritage Radio Network couldn't do that without support from listeners to Innovative Community Today. Subscribe to the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join the Heritage Radio Network family by becoming a member. To become a member of the Heritage Radio Network, click on the beating heart of our homepage. Heritage Radio Network can become addictive. Programming you hear on Heritage Radio Network might lead you to eat, drink, and listen to more programming on Heritage Radio Network. If you drink, please do not drink and drive. Drink responsibly, drive responsibly, eat responsibly too, and listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly. To listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly, wear protective earbuds. While wearing protective earbuds, do not drive, do not walk either. Sit in a comfortable chair. If that comfortable chair has a hard seat, please remember to stretch every 30 minutes. If you stretch every 30 minutes, please stay within your defined stressing capacity and consult a doctor who specializes in stretching. If you don't have a doctor, maybe Dr. Ryan Acock, the Cocktail MD, can help you out. Thanks for listening. Agave Road Trip out.